totally in the middle of a conversation as this
Uh-huh.
thing is going
Uh-huh.
on, and then whenever the little intro stinger is done, we'll be sitting here talking already.
Right. And then it's just like, oh, hi.
Hello and welcome to the show. Oh, anyway, I hit the button. We're going.
Oh, this is live. Okay, we're not practicing. Perfect.
Why would I give you time to practice? What
Oh,
kind
gosh.
of controller of the board do you think I am?
I have no control over here.
Oh man. All right. Well, welcome to today's episode. Or what is today's? Today's menu for Owlbear Soup includes. We should come up with a catchy little intro, but anyway, welcome.
I like it.
Hi.
I like it. Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
It's good over here. I am very excited to chat about D&D today because a whole bunch of D&D stuff is going on and it's on my mind. Spoilers? I don't know. I don't think that's spoilers.
Well, and I did post on Instagram that we were going to be doing some, answering questions. So we found a few questions on Facebook and Reddit. We're going to go ahead and hit on, just for funsies. Why not? It's kind of fun. And if any questions come up in the chat, I'm sure we can field those as well. But we do have a couple of things that we did want to tackle.
Right.
I think. Oh, I'm quiet, so I'm going to turn me up a little bit.
How
about now? How am I doing? How am I doing, Aubrey? All right. Well, I'm going to keep talking, and then Aubrey's going to either tell me to keep turning it up or that I'm too quiet. Cool. And then, so, first thing, right off the top, I'm going to hit these two news items, and then let's get into the discussion. First news item, Spiel des Jahres was announced, so that's the game of the year. So those have been announced. We're going to probably talk about that again in a future episode, maybe get a chance to play a couple of the games and talk about some cardboard, plastic fun times because, get away from this RPG stuff for a little bit.
Right. We're going to talk about why Wavelength is not on that list.
Oh, all right. Yeah, no, that'll be awesome.
The snub of the year.
The snub of... All right. So what's snub in German?
Oh, I don't know.
Snub das Jahres. All right.
We've got a week to find out.
Perfect. And then also the other quick news item. You will not catch me and Richard at Gen Con this year. Not that I think we were planning on going anyway. They have canceled it for 2020. And this is, I think, the first time in 50 years. So, anyway.
I was seeing some game designers post about their streak ending, like 30 years at that convention and stuff like that. It's wild. But I know a lot of conventions are planning to transition to online play. Origins just opened up their, I think, event participation. Like you could register for their events right now. Mm-hmm. I know Gamehole Con is considering going online, but they're just not ready for it. Like it's a weird path that a lot of conventions need to tread. So maybe we get Gen Con online. There we go.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing something for Gamehole Con online or something. So I'll have to look into that.
PaizoCon online is posted right now, and I've been looking at the Warhorn, and it's just this like Warhorn. The way it's set up is like Sunday, all the events are posted like vertically right next to Saturday and right next to Monday, and it's just a calendar mode. And so immediately at the top, it's like the games that start at midnight and play until 2 a.m. And there's like 7 of those. So that's like a scroll. And then 2 to 4. And then it's too much. It's too much.
I did not sign up for anything through PaizoCon, even though I do enjoy Starfinder. But
I considered it. I want to try out Pathfinder too. So it seemed like an easy, low impact way to do it. But
yeah, well, I mean, maybe one of these days we should get a one-shot together and try some Pathfinder too. Because I want to try it too. I don't think I'll like it. Like I don't think I will. But I want to go into it with an open mind, and it could be a really engaging edition.
Right.
Something I didn't see personally I didn't see in 3.5 and Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm. I think personally it's going to have the build crafting that I want. And I know this is a game that has existed for some time, so I've looked at it a little bit. I love build crafting, and I don't think 5th Ed has enough for me. So that's the thing I am excited about for it.
Yeah. 5th Ed, the theory crafting is not, Warhammer, right? So I think theory crafting as opposed to build crafting, right?
Sure.
it is not as deep. And that is something that I did see when I was looking for questions on Facebook. And I didn't grab this one because I didn't think it would be that engaging. But that was one of the complaints that came up in the Facebook group, and they were like, okay, so how do you deal with this? Here's the problem. You go through, and because of the way they have structured proficiency bonuses in the way attacks happen, it's a very, everyone kind of moves at the same level.
Right.
So when you get your ability score increases or feats, people tend to lean towards the ability score increases because so many things key off those numbers. So what you end up getting is you get a bunch of cookie cutter versions of these classes at the table, right? Mm-hmm. How different is my monk versus the monk you make, right?
That's fair.
Yeah. So anyway.
Right. And I know a lot of it when you look at the game, I haven't played enough high level to say this for sure, but ACs just don't scale. So whenever I see people who look at the feats and they're like, oh, that's a lot of feats, I'll just get a +2 strength. Let's go. And I'm always like, do we need to max that out? Yes, I'm going to hit all the time. An archer that's firing out there with +8s, perfect. They're not missing very often. But, when I'm looking at 10th level and I still have enemies that have ACs of like 15 and 16,
right. Yeah.
You don't have to max those out. But it's harder to choose a feat than to just be like, I'm going to be better at everything I do.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of that is left over from, the 3-5 days. And I know there were some crazy builds in second edition too, like as soon as you start layering on like skills in combat and all that stuff, right, it got crazy. But I don't know. Anyway, so
good tangent.
yeah totally. I believe Owlbear Soup, the podcast of D&D tangents.
Perfect. I love it.
Quick question from the chat. For Spiel des Jahres, do they ever award party games?
Oh, that's a good question. Huh. I would need to go back in the history, right? Because there's the game, there's the family game, and there's the strategy game.
Right.
And I don't know where party games would fit. I feel like it would be the game, but since they're all Eurocentric, I don't think party games fit. I would be curious to find out Codenames. Codenames is the one I would check.
Yeah, I don't think Codenames won Spiel des Jahres because that's where it would fall. But anyway, we can dig into that and talk about that a little bit later. The other thing from the chat is the D&D Live Online.
Yes. I'm real excited about this, just because I know we had talked last year for a brief moment about like going to the 2019 version, and it's kind of it was a spendy event. I was worried it just didn't work out for me, but I was excited to see that it's going online because it's just going to open up access to all sorts of things. I want to play the adventure they are putting out, called Return to the Glory, which is specifically an adventure for 4 to 6 orc characters, levels 6 to 8.
Yes. Okay, so I haven't actually. I purposely avoided everything about this. Ooh. All I know is D&D Live exists, and I know that there is this orc adventure. Like I don't know anything about like how you participate, how you get the adventure, any of this stuff yet. So
well, the joke that I have seen, and I know Teos knows way more about this, so in the chat, if you've got some more tricks, let me know. The joke I saw about this is this one as announcement about an announcement. Like, we're going to find out more details soon, which I understand, because they're trying to turn an event that was, I think, going to be actually live into an online event, and that's difficult. But I don't know the details on how we're going to be able to engage with this just yet. It is mid-June, so the 18th through the 20th. And it features just the schedule is packed with people. YouTube and Twitch for all sorts of stuff, but of course, their Twitch is full of stuff on D&D, so that only makes sense. It's going to start out with an adventure and product reveal. That's going to be the very first thing, which based on past iterations of this, that will tell us the theme for the entire event, right? I've already heard that people might think it's Icewind Dale. It could be Flumph Jammer. That's from a very specific source. I have no idea what it's going to be. Some people were saying Dark Sun, just because the psionic subclasses have been coming out on Unearthed Arcana. But it's really good. There's a ton of adventures, and they fit some really interesting themes. Like the people that they chose, the personalities they have certainly comedians. They have Brian Posehn from, oh my gosh, stuff, all sorts of stuff.
I've seen him. I have no clue what he does. I've seen him do comedy live. But I've never seen him in anything else. Well, I'm sure I have, but I just don't remember him in anything else. Yeah. He
is a longtime player in Dan Telfer's Nerd Poker, which is a group of like LA comedians. Thomas Middleditch is also going to be one of these like comedians on here. Who knows what the heck they're going to be doing? They also have, I don't know how this happened. They have a series of WWE superstars coming to play D&D.
Well, that's oddly been a thing for a little while, right?
Yeah.
One of the female stars, like part of her gimmick and part of just like her general personality is she's a huge nerd, like, you know, cosplay, everything, right? And so yeah, no, I feel like that's a very natural like connection there. And I mean, how many WWE or wrestling nerds do you know that you've also rolled dice with at the table?
Yeah, right? It feels like, for me, I had no idea about any of that. So it's that same moment when I'm like, Vin Diesel likes D&D. What in the world?
That's right.
You know?
I remember that moment when somebody told me, oh no, Vin Diesel's a huge D&D nerd. It's like, what? No way. Yeah. I love him more now.
Right? It looks like there are 5 superstars that are going to take part in this, and I was like, even you saying 1 for me is like, I could believe that, but 5, I'm super excited. We have Deborah Ann Wool coming back and leading a cast of our regular heroes like Matthew Lillard and Sam Richardson. And here's my favorite: there is a group of people that are very new to D&D that don't know the game very well. So David Harbour, Felicia Day. Martin Starr, who I think played for a comedy stream or a charity stream recently. But here's my favorite, Brandon Routh.
Yes.
I just want to see Superman play D&D. I do bad.
And Karen Gillian is noted in the chat as well. Like,
oh really?
Man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did see Brandon Routh. I'm a huge nerd for Brandon Routh. Like, you know, there was problems with the Superman film he was in. There was problems.
No, absolutely.
I admit there was problems. I still loved it. Right. I loved Brandon Routh as Superman. I loved him as Adam in the WB series, and then he got to put the Superman costume back on for the WB series. Oh, so good. Anyway,
right. Just as he's wrapping up his time, because now he's off that show. He's been sad. I was rewatching Chuck, and he is like the major. I don't even know what to call him. Hero villain for like a season and a half.
Yeah. Thank you, Aubrey. Yeah. He's in Scott Pilgrim too. Oh man, I like Brandon Routh a lot.
Me too.
He was in that one weird like undead movie that was kind of awkward and uncomfortable, and I loved it. And I don't know. I'm excited about Brandon Routh and a lot of those other folks, but that's the one that, you know, David Harbour's also pretty cool. But
yeah, Brandon Routh for me. I was like, wait, what? I'm gonna check. Yeah, absolutely. You can watch it at home. There is on the site, if you go to dnd.wizards.com/DND Live 2020, there's also how you can register for their live event portal. And it looks like if you donate to Red Nose Day, you will be able to register through that for some stuff. I don't know what that means yet. I'm gonna have to dig in and check that out because I'm excited.
Yeah. And, you know, for an event like this, like, there's a lot of really cool stuff, right? You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff. And part of the problem we had doing it live was cost, right? So I'm wondering how they're going to adjust that, because I was considering paying $400 or whatever it is to go down to LA to go be part of that entire in-person experience. And that's a very different experience than paying $400 to watch some people on my TV screen, right? So like, you know, I'm wondering where that is going to fall.
I'm guessing it's going to come way down because, you know, joining to be part of a chat is a different experience than, you know, hanging out and getting to shake hands afterwards and stuff like that. So I hope it opens it up to way more people because it is a really, really cool event. concept, and it's one that I wanted to go to. So this will be the chance. On a very similar note, like Red Nose Day has been around a long time. Have you ever watched the Great British Bake Off comic relief for Red Nose Day? They get British comedians, including some of the ones who were on the British Comedian D&D stream a month ago, something like that. And they come into the Great British Bake Off, like into the tent, and they cook terribly. They have like the same challenges. They're a little bit easier, and they're really, really bad at it. But they make it fun. It's really, really funny. So I am very excited for them to keep doing it. I like that the U.S. is jumping on because it's been a long time thing in Britain.
Nice. Cool. So right off the bat, we hit D&D Live, but there were some other things that you kind of wanted to touch on in relation to that, or
that was actually the big one. Like the other one is the Adventure Return to the Glory that you can get on DM's Guild for $10. And I have not read through the whole thing yet. I want to save this one because orcs are really interesting to me. Orcs, oh my gosh, they've been in the social media a whole lot lately because the portrayal of orcs is all over the place. And I'm hoping that this Return to the Glory, is one about like reclaiming, orcs for all these games. I love seeing games where orcs are not seen as these like totally othered characters and hated and despised. I just bring them back in. So I'm curious about how this adventure treats that. But I am excited to check it out.
Oh, and that adventure is available now.
It is available right now. It's already an Electrum seller.
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. Maybe we can schedule a one shot or something at some point.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I guess the conversation in chat is letting us know that it looks like they did stream portions of it last year. The D&D Live, so the main stage and some side stages, but I did not watch it. I have a real problem watching D&D on a television or a computer screen. I don't know. I just my attention drifts too much, and I kind of had the same problem with like even listening to like Critical Role and stuff and podcasts. It's like wandering. Yeah, because I get into it and then I'm like, oh man, what would I do? Wow, what would my character do? How could I, and then by then it's like I've missed some major plot point because I'm thinking about like, an awesome ranger that I could be using to save everyone in the circus, right? Whatever.
And that's not something I do when I'm watching like Legends of Tomorrow. I'm like, well, if I was there as this superhero with these powers, I would
Exactly, right? Yeah.
But it's so easy for D&D because it is that like shared story. You definitely want to be at that table, and this is what you would do.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'd never thought about it that way.
Let's see here. So some of the other things we're going to be talking about. We can talk about some more of those things that we saw on Reddit, on Facebook, questions that we've gotten various places. But you had something specifically that has to do with math.
Okay. So I don't know if you saw this. There's a whole
conversation. Yeah.
On Twitter, I called this D&D and Q&A. So that's that's what I've got for all of this whole thing. What we're going to be doing for the rest of the show, right?
Pretty much.
Last Friday, Greg Tito posted something that was really interesting. It was a link to 538, which I don't know if you read it. It's like, data-driven news, Nate Silver's thingamajig. I don't check the puzzles as often as I used to, but every Friday their puzzle person posts a puzzle, and actually two of them. One of them is supposed to be easier to solve, and one is supposed to be a little bit harder. And both of them are not puzzles like you're thinking. They're usually puzzles that you have to dive in and do some mathematical analysis. You have to write some code. You have to solve a problem where the answer is not quite obvious. And last Friday, they posted one about D&D. And this Friday, they posted the answers. So Greg posted about it, and his little, just on Twitter was like, check this out. I can't do this. This is really hard. And I was like, I hear, that's the call. And then I just immediately started solving the whole thing. But here's the question. So it's about advantage and disadvantage, I suppose. So we know, right? You roll a d20 for all your actions. You roll advantage, you roll twice and pick the better. Disadvantage, roll twice, pick the worst one. Halflings can go to hell. What's oh, it just drives me. Anyway, this is on that note, right? They came up with two other ways to do this. One of them, are you ready?
Yeah.
There's two different trials. One of them is you roll advantage.
Okay.
So you roll 2 dice, get a high score.
Yes.
Do it again. Roll 2 dice, get a high score. And then take disadvantage with those 2 results.
Okay.
So you've rolled 4 dice now. Pick the best of these 2, the best of these 2, and then the worst of the 2 winners.
Okay.
So that is disadvantage of advantage.
All right.
There's also advantage of disadvantage. So take rolling twice, take the worst, roll twice, take the worst, take the best of those 2 final results. And the question was, when are these different ways to roll advantage and disadvantage better and worse?
Okay, so
it got weird.
Yeah. So that's the puzzle, is trying to figure out when there's something mixed in there that I'm supposed to be able to suss out.
Very specifically, well, let's get into this a little bit. So which of those methods is best if you want to target, like specifically roll a 14? Which of those is best if you want to roll a 6 or a 20 or a 2?
Okay. So,
because they're more interested in the math of it than the like D&D success. That's a different take that I totally have, because I solved the problem. But tell me what you think so far.
So math and puzzles, not necessarily my strongest suit, right? But I do know, due to recent events, that in order to get a crit on 2d20 is right around 9%. Right? 9.25, I think.
Oh my gosh, it's 39 out of 400. Yeah.
So right around there. Okay, so in my head, it feels like if I am rolling advantage first, I have a higher chance to get higher numbers.
Yeah.
Right? And then if I roll disadvantage of those 2 higher numbers, it seems like, the average or the medium or the mean or whatever should be higher than whatever it is with the opposite rolls. But because I'm saying that out loud and it's a puzzle, I feel like I'm wrong. Explain to me how I'm wrong.
You are not wrong.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, just thinking about the problem, it's clear what the answers should be. So actually diving into the math and figuring out exactly it's just like, confirmed every suspicion I had, right? If you want to roll a 20, advantage is absolutely the best, just period. Right? Because when you roll twice and then you take the less of those, it's hard to actually roll a 20. It's very hard to roll a 20. Right. Because so you're just this method of disadvantage of advantages. Oh my gosh, they could have named them better. I was so mad. Is designed to make sure you don't crit. But overall, it's right. The only way to crit is to actually roll a 20 in each set of advantages and then take the worst one, which would be a 20. So,
man.
Right? So it's this method that I get to roll advantage a whole bunch and then take the worst. That's not that bad. But actually, mathematically, it's very hard to roll a crit with that. Yeah. So someone came up with this crazy rule, but you'll never crit. However, you will roll better most of the time because D&D is successful. It's designed around, if you roll a 12, you should be good, right?
Yeah.
For basically anything you're doing, if you roll a 12, you're good. And that method right there that you were just talking about, like roll advantage twice and then take the worst, is the best at getting you. It is better than anything else at getting you into those like mid-range successful rolls.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool. If you wanted to design a mechanic that makes you more successful, that's the one. If you want to make a mechanic that lets you crit more often, you roll advantage just as it's set right now. Of course, rolling 4 dice takes forever.
I would definitely, that's one of those instances in which I would have color-coded dice that I throw all 4 at the same time and matchy.
Exactly. But then we're getting into 3.5 days.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's if someone said this is a house rule that I use, is that, at certain times, I'm going to call advantage, disadvantage, and you roll this series of dice, I think I would be instantly annoyed at the sheer amount of time that would be wasted doing this. You know, part of 5th edition, you know, we got rid of a lot of bonuses, a lot of, you know, math because of advantage and the way advantage works. Advantage is essentially about a, you know, a +5-ish on a roll. Right. You know, there's randomness, which I think makes it more enjoyable than just, you know, oh, here you get a +5 on the roll, right? I like the randomness. I think that makes it more engaging. But yeah, when you, I think that would just waste too much time.
Yeah, right. D&D right now is so good because when you make an attack, hot tip, I'm not going to say you should, but you can roll your attack and damage dice at the same time. Doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah, do it.
There are so few dice involved that's pretty easy to do. I do remember one of my high-level archers in Pathfinder. I had a dice tray that was a box, and I fired so many arrows every round. It was like 5 attacks, so I need 5 d20s. Okay, each one of them does a d8 damage, unless I'm smiting, and then it's 2d8, and then also a d6 of like fire and a d6 of this. And I bought 5 dice sets, like just to put them all in this box at one time. I would just close the box and shake it, and then open it up, and then like try count out the action. It was so frustrating, but also like a really rewarding answer to a terrible problem, which is that turn should have taken 5 minutes and only took like 2.
Yeah, you know, I like a lot of the little things that speed up the game that they've done in 5th edition. You know, you speed up combat. Yeah, 4th edition notoriously known for very long combat rounds, and that's just, you know, that was part of it. You know, the more you played it, of course, you ramp that up, and it got a little bit easier to deal with. The like one thing that pops in my head is like magic missiles, for example. That, like, the way they've structured that spell in 5th edition is different than other editions, and it speeds it up, right? You shoot 5 darts, but all of them do the same 1d4 damage, 1d4 plus 1 damage. So all you do is roll that 1d4 plus 1, and you know what all your darts do. You know, in previous editions, and even in some house rules that I've seen in some of the Roll20 online, like, people are rolling for each dart, like, you know, and that slows it down, especially when you are doing a online platform like Roll20.
Yeah. So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So,
just to wrap this up and then get to something that you were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
Doing the math shows that when you roll disadvantage, you get a critical failure, or you get a 1 at the very least. 9 points. What was 9.5% at the time? So 9.9%.
Yeah.
I forget math.
So 9.25, I think.
So, the odds of you actually rolling a 1 is better than most things. It's ridiculous. It's better than most things. I don't need to hedge that. That's true. So, what do you think is bad about, I don't know. You were talking about critical failures. I want to talk about critical failures a little bit.
Okay. So, a game that, you know, I've been talking to someone about, and they have a house rule where if you roll a 1 is a critical failure. And then you roll a percentage to see if you have to roll on a fumble table. Already slows the game down way too much. And, you know, but whatever. Like, I'm willing to play with other people's rules so long as they don't negatively affect a certain aspect of the game in a way that's, you know, awful, right? So, so part of this rule is if you roll a 1, that ends your turn. That's the end of your turn, and then you roll the percentage chance and then the fumble table. That's the end of your, you know, so done. Wow. Right? So
it's on top of that.
Right.
That's amazing that it's all that packed in.
Exactly. All that packed on rolling a 1. And so the issue I had was I like playing monks. Monks are fun. They do a lot of attacks. They do a lot of stuff. So on a normal turn with my monk, once I hit level 5, I will at base be making 3 attacks a round, potentially 4 attacks a round. After that last attack, my turn doesn't typically end because skirmisher class, I get in and I get out. That's part of the survivability of a monk, right? Not all monks do it. They all have different tricks. I'm also going to have all kinds of tricks, right? So when you end your turn on the 1, that negates the rest of your abilities. So when you look at the math of rolling 2d20 a turn, and if one of those are a 1 that ends your turn, that's 9.25% chance you're going to end your turn before the end of your turn. And then it goes up to like 12.3, 12.4, somewhere around there. Math, not my strongest suit, whenever you have 3 attacks of it ending early. So then, as a monk, you add another attack whenever you spend ki. So now you're spending resources to get an extra attack, which has an extra chance of ending your turn.
Right. So that's scary. I mean,
you're right.
I like critical fumbles, the critical fumble deck. I'm a fan of that in concept because you can kind of look through it and be like, this deck is kind of neat. Oh, cool. These things could happen. And sometimes you pick one of the cards and you're like, whoa, let's pull that out. But I would expect in that some of those were stuns and like, oh, your turn is over. That was the critical fumble that you got. Right. Not just like, period. You're rolling a 1 is bad enough, but ending your turn, that's harsh. It's a harsh addition.
Yeah. And that's, and I never played with that. Like I did kind of in 2nd edition, like there was a little bit of the, you roll a 1, something happens, right? Mm-hmm. But it was never like, I remember hearing stories, and I think you even brought this up, like of, okay, you roll a 1 and you drop your weapon, right? Well, that's crap. Right?
I mean, yeah.
Like, I think that's crap. You are an adventurer. Why are you going to drop your weapon? Mm-hmm. Why? Right? So we didn't really play with that. I heard the stories of it. What we did play with is if you rolled a 1, something interesting happens, right? It doesn't necessarily end your turn. It doesn't necessarily like hurt you in any way. It's a misstep. And in that misstep, something interesting could happen. And usually it has no real like strong mechanical effect. Maybe it's the enemy gets a +1 on their attack on you, or, if you wanted to add mechanics to it. But otherwise, maybe it's something like, oh, you bumped into the candelabra and now the curtains are on fire, right?
Right.
It doesn't, right? It adds something interesting to the combat. So, like, I don't mind one's meaning going to something. I think one's being a mechanical punishment is tough, especially when, you're one of those folks who do a bunch of attacks, right?
Yeah.
And and then in comparison, like I was looking at bringing in a druid instead. They ended up dropping the rule after talks. I was looking at bringing in druid instead, and I was just going to make them just do save verses all the time.
Exactly.
Like why would I roll? Why would I take a chance of ruining my turn, the rest of my turn in strategy, to do something like that? So
my gosh, you 2 thoughts immediately, but one of them is definitely this idea that adding something interesting is always good, right? If you're going to take the time to slow the game down a little bit with whatever this is, it should make it more fun for entertaining, right? More game. Yeah. It shouldn't be just punishment. So the one time that I do remember most about the dropping the weapon was this ridiculous battle. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it happened, but everyone decided that when we rolled a 1, we were like, attacking with our foil or whatever, our saber, we're slashing. The weapon would go flying and get stuck in the same tree. And so the entire combat moved over to the tree and would just grab a weapon out of the tree and attack just constantly. And it ended up being this really, really silly, like memorable fight. And then when I had this NPC come in, like at the end of it, like big and hulking and ready to go and rolled a 1, everybody was like into the tree, So those kind of things are fun. I do like that sort of thing. But yeah, just punishment for the sake of punishment is a really frustrating way to play. Definitely I haven't played that way in forever because it's just, there's no reason to be that mean.
Right? Yeah.
Without good reason.
Right, exactly. Right. And in fact, it's like, that got me doing a lot. Well, yeah, if the players deserve it, it's probably because they have a bad DM. No. But it got me digging into like the DMG, looking at some of the optional rules, looking at some of the different ideas in there. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me, like kind of as an optional rule that I may eventually incorporate as a house rule, is like near misses, right? There was this idea in the DMG, and I liked it a lot. It was if you are like within 1 or 2 of like making a skill success or making that attack or, succeeding at that save, you can pull on this and say, okay, I need a little boost here. And then some kind of story aspect happens, right? It's like, okay, sure. Yeah, no, you totally hit them. But now on your next round, because you're off balance, you were able to get that last little stab. You're off balance though, so they have advantage on their attacks on you, right? Something little like that. It's like, the risk and reward thing is there, and I enjoyed that, and that's kind of the rabbit hole I went down whenever I started digging into critical failures and fumbles and stuff. And I pulled out 3.5 books, I pulled out 3 books, Pathfinder books, just all kinds of stuff, just trying to really wrap my head around this rule that I've never really used.
Wow, I like that risk reward bit, right? In Blades in the Dark, it's like the devil's bargain. They get to offer you a choice. Do you want to succeed at this? This is how you're going to be punished for it. This is how you will fail kind of next turn. And then you as the player get to decide, like, do I want that or would I rather just miss? And that's a fantastic idea, especially if you're just short. I've often done, if you have advantage and you're off by 1 or 2, you can spend your advantage or inspiration rather, to be successful. Because I like those mechanics, right? Phoenix Dawn Command you have a pool of sparks, and if you just fail by 1, you can spend them, but you only have so many of them, and once they're gone, you're dead.
Right.
So I like that. That's like an old fourth ed. I used healing surges for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That stuff's fun. I like that.
You have these resources, and why not use them in interesting ways? So, things like, like the near misses, or like as pointed out in the Pillars of Eternity game, has grazes, right? Yeah. These ways of getting close, or what is it? The new Star Wars game has the way of like exchanging force, right, to get advantages, and you exchange it with your DM, who then gets story points to do. It's like there's a lot of really cool ways to deal with like near grazes and or near hits, near misses, that type of stuff. But the crit failure though, that's a little bit too much. So.
Yeah, pass on that. I think that's too far, but I'm really liking this because it's a cinematic way, which I'm a fan of helping people succeed, which I'm also a fan of. So
I like really, I like the idea of gritty, like kind of tough adventures, like that challenge the players in unique ways, where there's so many times where they're teetering on the edges, but I want it to also be heroic. So I want the characters to be heroic in this, this not grimdark, because it's definitely, I definitely don't do grimdark settings. But this more, level setting. And and the crit failure thing, just, it doesn't make them feel like heroes, right? Yeah. Being able to pull something out of the bag, like with a near miss, that's heroic, right?
There it is. Yeah, that's very cool. That's cool. That really adds to a moment. And if you roll a 3, fine, but if you roll an 11 and you're so close, like that hurts. You feel sad after that. If I just roll a 3, it's fine. Let's move on. Like, I just rolled that.
And I don't know what anyone else's experience with second edition was, but it didn't feel combative, right? It didn't feel like the players versus the GM or DM or whatever, right? It felt very collaborative. It felt very fun. It felt wacky, all those things. But it never felt like it was me versus the DM.
Yeah.
However, I think that that kind of shifted a little bit, at least for me, when we hit 3.0 and 3.5, and then you started getting, like I pulled this image of a T-shirt just to kind of remind me that the combativeness that was in certain editions of D&D. It's like, I believe you'll find that the rule clearly spelled out on page FU, I'm the dungeon master, right? Like, it's that attitude.
Shouldn't that say Hackmaster? That feels like that comes from the Hackmaster game.
Right. Yeah. And it's that kind of attitude. And I know the shirt's a joke and all that, but that's pushing forth that idea of it's the DM versus the players. And
right.
It's not. It's the DM and the players creating a story together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is definitely our modern I think D&D we've talked about like older D&D, you know, dungeon crawling, stuff like that feels more combative because it kind of was. I mean, it was a war game, right? Yeah. I will say definitely Third Ed, which I played a ton of, is the biggest thing, one of the reasons it felt combative to me, right? So we were moving into stories, we're telling stories together, but my players could just defeat any challenge I brought up, and they loved it. They were like, I leveled up. I'm taking this feat and this thing and this skill and this, and I got this weapon now, and I'm gonna whoop you, DM, no matter what you do. Fifth Ed just doesn't feel that way to me. No. Everyone's a little, I don't want to say softer, but a little bit, because it's not so like everything's packed into this perfect little scenario killing adventure monster.
Right. Yeah. You know, and like sitting around with some of the people who played a lot of 3.5 in some of my home games, and they're talking about these very interesting scenarios that they played in organized play, for instance. Like, you know, it's like if you went through this puddle, you would then be, you know, gone to the zone that instantly you get 500 lightning bolts fired at you, and there's really only one way through it, and you had to have the exact right gear and the exact, you know, and it's like in that mentality, like you know, that's why I showed up to a Pathfinder organized play game with no equipment, right? Because because I, you know, it's like I needed something to play, and someone annoyed me by saying, "Oh, here, why don't you have this list of gear that every first level player should have?" I'm like, I don't got nothing. I have a dagger, and I have this magnifying glass because I'm playing an investigator. That's it. Maybe you're lucky if I have clothes.
I got into those arguments so much, or was part of them, I guess. Because in Pathfinder organized play, you couldn't get magic items. They decided, I mean, D&D and Pathfinder have been very separated on that. You didn't get magic items in the adventure. Instead, you got the ability to purchase them, but you didn't have enough gold, so they added this mechanic called prestige, and you can spend prestige to buy things. If you're prestigious enough, you can buy better things, right? So your first adventure gives you 2, and the big thing was you better spend those 2 on a wand of Cure Light Wounds, you selfish jerk. Right. Otherwise, we're not going to heal you, because anyone who could use that would never memorize a healing spell. They would just use this wand until it burns out and then just buy a new one. And it was weird that was just like the way to play the game. And I hated it. I loved buying other things instead. Just being, you know, just like you. Like, give me something that benefits me and makes me more interesting than just being this, start of the adventure, we all hand our wands over to the cleric. I can't even use this wand. I just bought it, so the cleric will heal me with it. Just track how many uses you use. It burns up at 50.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. You know, yeah, you know, and they didn't have that problem in as much in Starfinder, right? Starfinder felt a little more, you know, a little more better with the way that they handed out those kinds of items and survivability, right? You know, and that's one of the things I think, you know, we all kind of should look at 4th edition a little bit and at survivability, because you're playing heroes, right? Like, why would you want to play someone who has a chance of dying the first day out? Like, yes, there are people that happens to. There are adventures that happens to. Yeah. Those adventures aren't the story. Your adventures are the story. Your adventures are the heroes. And and that idea of like, oh, you know, to be an adventurer, I have to buy this wand of Cure Light Wounds for the cleric, right? Like, no.
No, you don't. You don't at all.
No, I'm taking a chance. I'm going out there, and I'm a hero. So, you know, it's my story. Hopefully, I'll survive.
Right. And I mean, that's a very specific, like, organized play mentality. But that, like, Third Ed was all about that mentality in a lot of ways. Like, all right, I better start buying my +1 ammunition. Okay, do we all have our Ring of Natural Armor +1? Because you got to. That's your 4th level purchase. 5th level. Okay, now you can get a +2. Bracers of armor or like magical armor. Yeah. It was like a specific tier system, and it was just the way of that game. It had so much item bloat that it was, you know, people know. I'm sure. But gosh, I do like 5th Ed in that it reduces that mentality of players versus DMs. It's hard to hold on to. There's so much story to have. You have so many choices. You could certainly do it for sure. But but it feels like everything feels more collaborative right now, which I like a lot. That shift, I don't know when it occurred. I couldn't point to a moment, but I'm very happy that it did.
Yeah. Five Iron Fanatic brought up a great point. Any gameplay mechanic that limits the players from playing their character because it's not optimal is gross. And I agree with that.
You're getting some good confirmation today. I like it.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Yeah, and then Teos brought up the 3E and the golf bag full of weapons for resistances. Right. Oh, that was the other thing, right? Like, okay, so I need this kind of weapon to deal with this kind of. Oh, we might find trolls, so make sure you either have acid or fire. Oh, we might fight blue dragons, so make sure you have something for that. Yeah, it's just like, oh, Jesus. It's like, no wonder there were so many books, because you had to have all these things for all these situations. Like,
Right. And then it's just like, oh, well, now if you're going to make me spend the money on a radiant weapon, there better be enough enemies that have radiant resistance. So now I need more for that. And then I need more options after that. It's just.
No, you need to have it for that one mod.
Yeah.
That you can only play once.
Oh my gosh. I did have a character who carried around two-handed swords, and one was like the super one that I would use all the time. But if Fae were around, it's like, all right, let's get out the cold iron one. It's just +1, not my +2 smiting, striking, whatever, raging broadsword.
I love the idea that, I don't mind like having those items. I dislike buying them ahead of time because of in case, right?
Yeah.
So 4th edition game that I just finished up a few months ago, we hit level 30. It was great. It's fantastic. A lot of fun. Yeah. It's my friend Jonathan. I think Jonathan Jerkoop. But he runs 4E games, and I think that we ran our final one, and this is the second time we went all the way through the levels to 30. It was great. Jeez. But anyway, at level like 16, we fought trolls. None of us had fire weapons. None of us had acid weapons. So what do? After we did that, we all bought some kind of something, right? And so from that point on, I had a +1 dagger, flaming dagger, right, for that situation, because I learned a lesson, and I think that's kind of cool, right? That kind of growing of your gear based on what you've seen. Did we see any more trolls in the adventure? Probably not. Does it matter? No. Like, right? I can't kill this thing. How do I kill this thing? Oh, now here, I have this flaming dagger that'll just shut it down. Yeah. Perfect. I'm ready to go. I learned a lesson.
Right, when you look at your sheet, you remember that lesson. You're like, why do I have a +1 flaming? Oh, yeah, it's because of these trolls that one time. It's not just like, well, I bought a bunch of daggers for any situation. Here's my fire, here's my cold, here's my acid. That would be very expensive. But also, it's not that you're taking this out-of-game knowledge into it, right? Or you're not reading an adventuring manual, I suppose, in the world and being like, you must have these 20 things. It's
if you end up with those 20 things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you end up with those 20 things by level 30, that's great because you've learned lessons, which is why you pick those up.
Yeah.
But if you're starting at level 1 and you already have your laundry list of weapons and items you need to buy to survive, it's like, well, where did you get that laundry list? That's not playing the game. I mean, I guess it's playing the game, but it's not. Yeah.
Here's how far I'm willing to go. Everybody should carry a blunt weapon. That's it.
Oh yeah. Tails brought up the good old Gary Gygax technique, where you find the thing that is good against a creature somewhere in the dungeon.
Right, and that's a Ravenloft thing, right? That's Strahd too, right?
Yeah.
Got to get the Sun Sword. It's here somewhere, right? So go get it. I love those things, right? I love in a mod when you're going to be fighting constructs later on. Well, the DM knows, maybe the players don't, and the players just happen to find these oils that are like, oh, you can put these on your weapon. Now they're better against constructs. Like, oh, I see what's going on, And they know it, and it's fine that that's a little gamey, but it saves that problem of I get a sword that's like Bane against constructs for just this one mission, which no one needs. No one needs that.
Specifically, Teos mentioned the Dragon Slayer sword in the Dragon's Horde. So after you've killed the dragon, there's the special sword to help you kill other dragons, which I also find amazing and hilarious, because of course, if the Dragon Slayer or dragon kills someone with a Dragon Slayer sword, they're gonna hide that sword. They don't want to
that's true.
Have it.
That's funny. Okay, I just read the first part of that.
Yeah, I mean, but both options are both valid, right? And fun in different ways. Like, well, now next time I face a dragon, I'll be even more prepared, right?
Now I I want to play the version of Strahd, right, where Strahd is using the Sun Sword, and early on, when you drew a card, it just said like, "Uh-oh, you're in a lot of trouble. You're not going to be able to find that sword until it's too late."
Oh no!
Strahd's like, "Why would I let you use this?"
I also love the Gygax thing of finding the treasure inside the monsters.
That's gross.
That's gross. That doesn't happen enough anymore. But like, you know, if you read through some old adventures, it's like, okay, well, inside the belly of the froggy myth is a gem worth, 10 bajillion gold, and if the players go digging through it, it's theirs, right? That's kind of funny, but.
That's Baldur's Gate. I remember that from those games. I do remember there's like a gem in a certain rock in the screen with all the Ankh-eggs.
Oh,
like yeah. And I would always go
oddly enough, I think I remember that same one.
Yep. Oh, wow.
See. All right. So the next question that I saw, and I saw this one on Reddit. I'm going to go ahead and bring us to the next question. Unless you had anything else on that. Whatever we were talking about. I don't remember.
Talk about this forever, so let's do it.
Yeah. Someone on D&D Academy asked, how do you end an adventure? And on top of that, I would say, how do you end a campaign? Because that's kind of like, right? Like,
wow.
I mean, it's similar, right? But how do you, what is the ending? How does it end, right? Mm-hmm. How do you present that to your players? How do the players like interact with it? Like for you at least, like, wow. Start with the ending of an adventure. What ends the adventure for you, and how does that work?
That is a tricky question, right? Because you've gone past the climactic moments of the adventure, right? You've done your final battle. You've looked through the horde. Do you just stop it right there, or do you have to go back and report to someone? Are you responsible?
Right.
Sorry.
And this is something even Teos brought up last time, or when we had him on, he was talking about how the end of Tomb of Annihilation kind of just drags on a little. It's like, so why, where do you get your ending? Because that ending clearly didn't work well for Teos's way of running a game. So yeah, what is it? Is it the epic conclusion? Like the dragon goes down, you win. Oh, session's over. Nice adventure, guys.
Yeah. I love his idea about the epilogues, the montages, right? It's just talk through what happened afterwards, right? I like that because I find that the going back and reporting is often totally uneventful. Like, okay, all right, tell me everything that you just did. Share your heroics with me. And then you just like tell the story again of what happened. I mean, that can be good. But often it's just like a letdown, and unless it leads to something else, so that there is a moment or reason to have that. Gosh, I like leaving on cliffhangers. Like if I'm doing individual adventures, right, in a larger campaign, I think cliffhangers are the way to do it.
Yeah.
Keep people on the hook. Maybe send some emails in between with a little bit more information, but I don't like to do those sad after moments. Denouement, is that what we're talking about? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and that's something I've seen a lot and I would say that's maybe my one complaint about the Starfinder adventures. Every one of them kind of ends with you wrapping everything up and then going back and reporting. Yeah. It's like, and then most GMs just skip the reporting part. Because why is it there? But I do like the idea. Like, I was reading someone talking about a way of storytelling that they use. I forget in what country. I want to say it's a Japanese way of storytelling, where instead of using the Western structure of, climax, blah blah blah, what it is that you set up a situation, and because of that situation, another situation happens, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is you go to the baker, and the baker says, "Hey, I need you to go to the basement to clear out these rats."
Right.
Classic, right? Classic adventure setup. So, the thing that happens though is because you killed those rats, right? They were preventing the giant rat kaiju from erupting from the ground. And so now that you've killed those rats, well, guess what happened? Now you have to deal with this giant rat kaiju that has erupted from the ground, right? And so putting it into a situation like, I think ending an adventure where like, good job, you got all the rats. Thanks, here's your payment. That's that rumbling, right? And then it leads you into the next adventure that's taking care of the giant kaiju rat. And once you took care of that, the giant kaiju rat was actually keeping, the Galacticus, the destroyer of worlds, from coming to this planet because he doesn't like the taste of those. So now you have to deal with Galacticus, right?
Right. And that's the report for a purpose, which I like a lot, right? That's not the end. Actually, the end is just after, right? If the reporting is the end, I in my detective adventures that I wrote, the end is very specific because I was a monster, and so they all end with a mechanic I stole from Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. I think we've talked about this before, but at the end of the game, once you've learned enough, you have to answer a list of questions, and you get points based on answering those questions. And so I have a similar structure. At the end of these adventures, the person you're reporting to, you don't tell them what happened. They ask you questions about some of the things that they have heard. So it's very specific, like, what exactly is the ritual object you discovered? What is that? Tell me about that ritual. And you can have figured some of it out. You can have found the object and been like, I don't know, but it's right here. Or, you are some sort of mage and you've succeeded in Arcana check and you know more about it, right? So, or you talk to the person who was holding it because you charmed them or something weird. So there's a couple levels there, which I like a lot because it means it's turned that report into a mini game, which I love. Just tell me what happened, and it's often well, we just did it and that's it. But now we have this mechanic where maybe you didn't actually do some of these specific things. I have some targets I wanted you to hit, and maybe you got the basic level and advanced in a few. And if you get enough points, you get a larger reward or larger benefit at the end, which is fun for me as a writer.
Yeah.
I hope that changes it up for everybody because it was really hard to write. Actually, I don't know that I would recommend that for every adventure.
I did get an email, I think yesterday, that said my copy is in the mail. So I'm eagerly anticipating its arrival. I've already read the PDF, but I also wanted the physical thing too.
Right. I'm very happy about those going out. I've got a few more to ship, and then they're done. They're gone.
They're gone. Oh, man.
PDFs only from here on out. Oh, I have I think I have 20 extra physical copies, but I just want to lay on them. I want to. I don't know what they're for. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Oh man. Let's see. And then let's your other Kickstarter. That's getting pretty close to wrapped up, isn't it?
Oh, that wraps on Tuesday. Absolutely. I actually, there are probably a couple more adult spots left, and then there is the family-friendly adventure itself, which is going to be my plan for that. Is it's kind of replayable, kind of an evergreen sort of thing. But there's I did this specifically. There will be no killing of anything in that adventure, although it does have combat. But I was like, I think I'm going to leave that out of this story.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of I'm happy about that. People can back that, and then also be listed as a camp alumni in our literature and in the adventure itself.
Nice. And let's see. And what kind of slots are still available to sign up for this adventure? Is it just kind of the patron level, or? Yeah.
So there's just the get the adventure level, which is the lowest level there is. I think there's a Heroes Scholarship or two still remaining to support other kids coming to camp who might not be able to afford it. And kids are signing up on that application, which is great. And then what's the other thing? Gosh, there's just so little left, honestly. It was a campaign where there was kind of all the seats are full. So there's just a few left. But
yeah. That's super exciting.
I got some more backers this morning. So it's really closing down quick.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, and then in that case, let's go ahead and talk about where folks can find you on the internets, and let's wrap this thing up.
Cool. You can find me all over the place at Armelina. I mean, you can definitely check out the Academy of Adventures campaign on Kickstarter. Otherwise, I'm going to be napping. I think that's my goal for this week is some napping before I come up with a new ridiculous idea to do. What about you?
Let's see here. You can follow me at 2HitAC0 on Twitter and Instagram. Also, you can follow my DJ adventures. I'm not going to be DJing on Monday, Memorial Day. I'm going to instead be celebrating with Aubrey And then on Tuesday, I'll be back to DJing at 7:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. Pacific Standard. Big news. Aubrey and I next Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard are going to be doing another combined stream where I'm going to be doing some DJing. She's going to be doing some cello playing, and that is all to celebrate our anniversary. So 4 years married, and we want to all your friends, all our friends and family and everyone. We're inviting everyone to come hang out with us on Friday in the chat. Who knows how good the music will be? We're hopefully going to be distracted by chatting and hanging out with our friends, but not so much that we're playing crap music.
That sounds so fun. That's amazing.
No. We both were talking. We're like, that would be a really fun way to celebrate our anniversary. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. If not, we'll be back here next week at 11 a.m. for more Owlbear Soup.
Sounds good. See you then.
All right. Thanks, everyone.